Like we could climb up the ladder ourselves and step on some people, on the way up, or we could actually go lower and hold the ladder for somebody else.
Welcome to Permission Slips, a space for you to practice paying attention to your life with self-compassion and kindness, so you can experience the wholeness, purpose, and joy you were made for. I'm Jillian DeBritz, a life and leadership coach and a recovering perfectionist, learning alongside you how to give myself permission to be human. I am so glad you're here with me today for this conversation with my guests, my friends, Katie M. Reid and Lee Nienhuis. Thanks for being here, you guys.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, I want them each to hear your voices. So, Katie, say hi.
Hey.
This is Katie.
That's probably unhelpful. Hi, I'm Katie. There you go.
Thanks. Yeah, and then Lee.
I'm Lee.
Yes, and we will get to hear more from each of them. But before we jump into today's conversation, I want you to hear about the amazing women that we get to be with today. And I'm so, so grateful for the time that you're both making. Katie M. Reid is a Bible teacher, author, and podcaster. She's trained in education, and Katie teaches around her kitchen table, in the classroom, and around the country. She co-hosts the Martha and Mary Show with Lee and runs the Martha and Mary Show Sisterhood group on Facebook. Katie is a pastor's wife and worship leader. She says following Jesus, marrying her husband, and being a mom to 5 are the best decisions she has made. I love that, Katie. And Lee Nienhuis is an author, speaker, and passionate Bible teacher whose love for the Lord and the Word is contagious. And I can attest to that personally. Lee, as I met you at a speaking and writing conference this summer and you were teaching the Bible, we can talk about that, how you just lit a fire in me in a way that I could not contain through my eyeballs. So, yeah, her passion's contagious. And she serves as a communications specialist, a ministry coach, and a consultant for many churches and nonprofit organizations. With a heart for inductive Bible study and missions, Lee speaks domestically and abroad, communicating a dynamic vision for the next generation and biblical literacy. Lee's books, Brave Moms, Brave Kids, A Battle Plan for Raising Heroes, and Countercultural Parenting are a clarion call for parents who are looking to raise wholehearted Christ followers in this generation. Lee and her husband, Mike, have 4 great kids and live in West Michigan. So, women, there is a lot I could say about you that I didn't, but I'm just really honored to have you here. Truly, it's a gift.
Well, it was so fun to meet you at the Speak Up conference, Jillian. I'm like, haven't we been friends for, a decade is what it felt like.
Totally.
And just, I remember when you sat down in the chair across from me in our 15-minute appointment, and it was just like, I'm bad at small talk. So
yeah,
we just we dove in, and it was just so refreshing.
Yeah. Refreshing is a great word. And I think that connection of like, let's just not waste time and go to the deep end. Let's go to the places that are meaty and real and significant is why both of you were such a refreshing gift to me too. Yeah.
I was going to say, it was so fun. I told you this as we got on today that I was like, haven't we known each other a really long time? I don't know. So I love it when God does that, connects hearts really fast.
Yeah.
That's my kind of friendship.
Totally. And the context, Katie mentioned the Speak Up conference. It was a conference where both of you were on faculty, so teaching and encouraging in different ways. And we had these 15-minute appointments. And I couldn't fully even identify why I wanted to meet with both of you. But I just knew when I saw your names and your bios, I was like, I need to meet with them. And I remember sitting down with you first, Lee, and I was like, probably burst into tears immediately. And was like, I don't know why I need to meet with you, but I just need some encouragement. And you were so kind just to ask me questions about my podcast and my writing journey and just to give the exact encouragement I needed. And then I remember you like walked me almost holding my hand right over to Katie and you're like, you need to know her and listen to all she's doing. Isn't this amazing? Isn't this podcast amazing? And you, before you really even knew much about me, believed in me and cheered me on and encouraged me to keep going. And I truly, from those conversations and many that we had after the fact, felt so strengthened in this work and strengthened to keep going. And that's what I love about your friendship too. because you've done that for each other, right?
So, Jillian, you just need to know, like, they have to separate us at Speak Up, because if we're back to back talking and coaching to each other, I will include Katie in conversations, because Katie is my go-to. Okay, let's brainstorm about this. How does this work? And really, I just feel like as women in ministry, we need cheerleaders. And that is the gift that Katie's been in my life. And so if I need a co-cheerleader for someone, I'm going to Katie. Also, Katie spits out ideas in her sleep. I've slept in hotel rooms with her, and you should just sleep with
Not slept
paper.
much. Not slept
No,
much.
yeah. And you just keep a piece of paper there and notes, because she's just going to keep on going, and it's like solid gold, you know?
Yeah.
So
Totally. I can attest to that. I remember scribbling furiously all the ideas she was giving me in the 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, slow down, slow down. But I love that you just said that. We as women in ministry, we need cheerleaders. We need people like you have in each other, like I have in friends in my life, who will say, this is who you are. This is what you're called to. And this is why you're going to keep going. You can do this. We'll do it together. So I'm curious about your friendship. Even before we jumped on, we were talking about the dynamic between the two of you and how powerful your friendship has been in your ministry and writing and speaking and podcasting journey. I didn't even say this, but you co-hosted the Martha and Mary podcast. So you have created together practically in this podcast world. But how did you get to know each other? Where did your friendship come from?
Well, this is an interesting story, because when I was a young mom, we lived at a place called Bear Lake Bible Camp, and God allowed me to mentor a high schooler that was the executive director's daughter at the time. Well, fast forward, and this same girl who I was mentoring, she's one of the best program directors I know in Christian camping. And Lee got to mentor her more, I would probably like when she was getting married, just married, starting to have kids. And so it was that very person, Abby Banfield, who we love dearly, who knew that Lee and I were both going to the She Speaks conference. I think it was in maybe 2015, 14 or 15. And she said, hey, you guys need to know each other. And so it was just cool because Abby was that link. And I'll let Lee expound from there.
Oh, totally. Because we were going, and she said, I think you guys are going to like, Abby said, I think you guys are going to like each other. Katie's looking for a roommate at the conference. And I was already very overwhelmed to be going to the conference, just so you know. And I basically said, okay, yeah, this perfect stranger and I will meet. Abby is the one we have in common. So a lot of trust, because we are going to be in, queen size beds side by side.
Right. That's next level of friendship before you even know each other. Like, you're in. We're committed.
And, I mean, you just need to know, like, I had already been in ministry a few years. Katie had been in ministry for a few years, but basically God had put it on both of our hearts to pitch projects at this conference for the first time. And so we both walked away with book deals and a friendship that came. It just took a couple of years till it all came together, Katie.
Okay.
She's like, no, I didn't have a book deal then, but
no,
Lee's like, yes,
did.
yes. Yeah.
It came. And what came actually really was this friendship out of it. And you see to know, like, everybody thought I was the extrovert, but Katie was out, like, partying at night, giving her business cards out, that kind of stuff.
In an appropriate way.
So done with people. I would go back to our room and fall asleep. And then there's Katie working into the night, taking notes off of everybody she met and writing down all the things. But at the end of that, we had this really great friendship. I don't know, a couple years later, Katie releases Made Like Martha. And I said to her, I texted her this picture, Made Like Martha and Mary show podcast. And we both already knew that Katie's a doer, like, really, truly, and I'm more of a waiter. And we really did kind of fit more the Martha and Mary example than we thought. And so for a couple of years, we hosted a show all about being made in the image of Martha or Mary. And then it just morphed into this conversation about friendship in general. And it's been so fun over the years to celebrate each other's families and do life side by side. So, yeah.
Well, I love that I mean, I can so relate to this journey that you both went to a conference to, I'm assuming, find some encouragement and look for some opportunities to connect with agents, to, get a book deal, to take the next step in your ministry and writing work. And the gift that God had for you, in addition to, I'm sure, some of that networking and encouragement, the gift God had for you was each other, that you had this unknown need for a partner in this work that he saw. And as you walked away from this conference, it sounds like the relationship that you formed has really continued to spur on the work that you're doing. You went for the work, you came away with a relationship, and then more good work has been the result of you in relationship with one another. I'm so curious about how your friendship has strengthened each of you for the work you're doing in the world. Can you both talk about that? How has your friendship made a difference in what you're doing individually?
So Katie has always been this confidant for me where I can tell it like it really is. And I'm not a person who puts on facades. I'm very direct about what I'm thinking, about what I'm feeling when I feel safe. And that's something that's been very important to me. I tend to be more private in general than people like to think because I get on platforms and stages and teach and podcast. But at the very personal core level of the things I'm wrestling with, I tend to be more private. And Katie has been a place where over and over, she's been trustworthy in that place to do the heart work with. And Katie and I actually have shared a counselor as well. So, which is so funny because we really, both of us have over the years of our ministry been in places where we're like, you know what, you need a professional. And Katie said to me, she's like, I would talk about that with our counselor, and we don't go in together, but our counselor knows that we're good friends. And she will occasionally say to me, so have you talked to Katie about that? And I think she realizes when I'm not, and it's just not my propensity to air laundry, and so Katie has helped me discern many times what is good for me or not good for me. Also, when she feels like I've been taken advantage of and when I need to let something go. And I know
she has the boxing gloves out. Yeah, she's fighting for you.
So, obviously Katie is very creative. So I go to her with creative questions and the next step. And I've trusted Katie to lead me in certain ways. And I think that's what a good friendship does, is help co-discern. And Katie will say this, is that we have a non-compete clause that we came up with for our podcast, but I've never felt like I was in competition with Katie for anything, any platform, any opportunity. If a door opens for me, it also just opened for Katie. And I really feel like vice versa. We've been, like, we don't get the same deals. We don't always get the same speaking engagements or something like that, but I don't feel competition with her. She is my friend and co-laborer. And so we can't lift each other up and be jealous of each other at the same time. And so, yeah.
There's such power in that. We can't lift each other up and be jealous of each other at the same time. And I want to hear more about that. Like, how have each of you cultivated that commitment to not compete, to not be jealous, but to say, hey, this door's open, come with me. Like, we're doing this together. How has, because I think about so much of the time with women, and especially you're in an industry where there is competition, right? There can be that sense of competition for book deals or competition for speaking opportunities. That can't, even within Christian publishing and speaking, there can be that sense of, oh, your success takes away from mine. That's not true. That's not how God works. And yet we can feel that. And so when you choose not to compete or compare, but to collaborate and celebrate one another, that I want to learn from that. So can you talk about what that's looked like for you? How have you cultivated that?
Well, Jillian, first of all, I think unfortunately it's rare. I think Lee and I can point to things like our non-compete clause and different things like that. But honestly, I think a lot of it is a gift of God's grace, because sometimes I can feel that. And I remember having a conversation with Lee when she kept getting an opportunity, not just once, she kept getting it year by year, in fact, and I had never had. And that was not, I wasn't upset with her, but it was a pain point of like, am I doing something wrong? And so I remember coming to her, and that's awkward, right? But it develops trust to be able to say, and I think the trust and the safety in the relationship, is not perfect by any means, but it allows you to have room to celebrate. I also think, part of my journey with the whole Made Like Martha book and all of that was really God shifting me from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. So I used to feel that a lot, like, oh, someone else got an opportunity. That means there's less for me. And I think that is prevalent in Christianity, just that scarcity mentality. And we can feel like we have to, begs for crumbs at the table when we already have a seat at the feast. And so I think as we grow in our identity with Christ and know who he is and who we are in him, it frees us to celebrate. And we don't have it all figured out. I still can fall back into that very easily. I also think something that I've had to do over the years is I have very high expectations for myself and other people. And so I value communication and people responding to me right away. And so when my dear Lee would not do that, like I had to do heart work of like, is she mad? What's going on? And so like we had conversations like she is very strategic and she's also great at being present in the moment. I am not great at that. So guess what? She probably can't get back with me because she's being present for the people around her. Right. And so I think some of it is also giving people the benefit of the doubt. I can go to worst case scenario like so fast and have this whole story I've made up in my mind that probably has nothing to do with me in actuality.
Yeah.
And so I think being able to navigate some of those hard conversations, and I think it's also knowing when not to navigate a conversation. Does that make sense? I think in this age of people being more honest and being more vulnerable, that's a beautiful thing. But there's also that wisdom of when to offer that and who to offer it to. I've gotten burned in the past when I used to kind of treat everyone like they were in that inner circle because I just want to be friends with everyone. But then I would get burned because it wasn't, and I don't mean this exclusively, but it wasn't who God had placed there. And so it was like speaking a different language.
Yeah. Well, I love what you just said about the trust and safety that you and Lee have cultivated, where you've earned the right to say the things or to hear the things from one another that you wouldn't say to everyone, that from people who haven't developed that, we don't have that track record of proving their trustworthiness over time. And I love that you're owning this sense of, well, I do still get jealous, or like that's still something, that's not something that goes away just because we love each other fiercely and have a non-compete clause, which I appreciate that honesty because I relate to that. I have two dear friends who, both of you met Jenny at the Speak Up conference and my other friend, Michelle. And we've talked, they were my first podcast guests here. And we talk all the time about our writing journey and all have different messages and things that we're doing. But we were anticipating another conference this fall and talked about an opportunity that one of them may have. And I felt this jealousy. Like it was an opportunity I really, really wanted, that I'd wanted for a long time. And I felt this like pang in my chest of like, no, she can't have that. And just the awareness of, oh, there's something happening here that I don't like. I don't want to feel that toward my friend. I want to celebrate what's happening here for my friend. If this opportunity really does happen, I want to celebrate that. But because of the safety and trust that we have established, I was able to say, hey, this feels really icky. And I don't want to say this out loud. I don't want this feeling to be here. But I just need you to know that I'm struggling with jealousy and that feels gross. I want to celebrate you and I'm excited for you. And also this is happening inside of me. And their response was so beautiful because they were able to say, yeah, that makes sense. Jealousy comes from someone else seeing something that you want and someone else getting it. Completely normal response. Not who you are, but that response makes sense. And we love you and we see you. And so to be able to name those things because we have trust and safety, it dissipated the shame that I felt over that response. And it ended up actually forging an even stronger connection where we have the safety to be real. Lee, I'm curious how you would say that you've practiced cultivating that sense of collaboration and celebration over competition and comparison in your friendship with Katie.
So I'm probably going to be minority here, but I don't naturally feel jealousy. And that's the doggone honest truth is
amazing.
I just don't.
What is that like?
I know.
Yeah, seriously, tell us more.
So Katie and I have two different calls on our life, and I feel so convinced of that. I'm not woo-woo at all, but I can take you back, Jillian, to the exact spot on the road where the Holy Spirit pressed on my heart something. And he has been faithful to that moment. And what he said to me was, you will not build your platform. I will do that for you. Katie's heard me say that probably 100 times, but I go back to that moment with the Holy Spirit where, like I know my name, I know he said that to me. And he did not have that moment on that road with Katie the same way. And so I have trusted both. That Katie is led by the Holy Spirit and he has her doing something different, a different way than he's doing it with me. But maybe I needed that moment in time, but I can go back to that place and he did exactly what he said he was going to do for me. He built a platform right underneath me and when it was the right time, and praised God for that. Did that mean that I didn't do anything? No. It meant that I was trusting that he was going to open the right door at the right time. And he did. And when he said that, he did not tell me the scope of the platform. And so by God's grace, I have not assumed on the size of the platform. So when he did that the first time at a conference, a very large conference, I assumed that he had fulfilled his commitment to me. And to be honest, that is how it's been. So I just trust that he's leading me where I'm supposed to go and that he's leading Katie. Now, Katie has a movie deal. Has God given me a movie deal? No. Do I want a movie deal? Not yet. I haven't written anything that merits that. Can I cheer Katie on? Absolutely. But Katie's not going to get a gift or an opportunity that was meant for me. Yeah. Like, God doesn't have the wrong address when he sends those things, Like, I can be so excited that my bestie gets that opportunity because he doesn't have the wrong address, and I can go to the movie premiere because I will be invited, or whatever it's, and vice versa. I am very convinced he knows where I am. He has been so faithful in that to show me he knows exactly where I am over and over and over again. Do I always trust it? To be honest, my wrestle is not with Katie, it's with the Lord, right? Yeah. Like, why aren't you doing this? Why? Like, this doesn't look the way, it doesn't feel good. I don't like it, but I'm not really a jealous person because I'm so convinced that we're on different paths and that he is with me. So I guess that's the easy answer is to be real honest, I want Katie to have what's meant for Katie.
That's beautiful.
Jillian, I was thinking before this conversation of a conversation I had with a mentor of mine, Lisa, and I think it fits well here is I talk about like being a ladder holding leader. Like we could climb up the ladder ourselves and step on some people, on the way up, or we could actually go lower and hold the ladder for somebody else. And I think about people throughout the Bible, but particularly I'm thinking about Jochebed, Moses' mom. And I'm sure her prayer was to keep her son alive and safe and close. But somehow, some way, she did the best she could, right? Put her baby in the Nile. I think she had to have some sense that he was the deliverer. And so had she not let go, right, we wouldn't have experienced all that God wanted to do through Moses. And I remember my mentor, Lisa, saying to me about a particular collaboration I have in my life. She said, I know you love to hold the ladder for people. Just get ready when they are more successful than you. Prepare your heart ahead of time, because that really is the goal, right? Like, as we're all moms, right? Like, we want our kids to be more successful in their faith, in their life than we are. But sometimes in a friendship, especially Jillian, like you were talking about, like you really wanted that opportunity for yourself. And so I appreciated my friend saying that to me, because I don't like to be caught off guard.
Yeah.
And so as I see with a particular friend of mine, like everyone loves her, that's great. But I need to be ready for her to be more successful and to bless that and release that. Like, that is God's path for her. And so sometimes I think it's almost pre-heart work and heart work in the moment and heart work after, that if that doesn't come naturally to celebrate someone else, like, journal about it, talk to a safe person about it, because if we can have some of that accountability and space to share it, it helps us get untangled from it, because it can morph into something really nasty and that holds us back from running in the way God wants us to go as well.
Yeah. And from the joy of running our race, right? Like, I just think about how much joy jealousy and competition steals for the opportunities or the gifts, like you said, Lee, that God's not going to give anyone else an opportunity or gift that's meant for me. But he has gifts and opportunities for me that are just for me out of love and delight for who he's made me to be. Like, he knows exactly what's going to bring life and joy and bless me and others. And so I love that permission too, Katie, to say, okay, God, this is here and I don't want this. Like, will you help? Will you shift my desires? Will you shift whatever's happening in my heart so that I can genuinely, authentically celebrate others, and to trust that you haven't forgotten about me. You won't forget about me. And also, I want to be the type of leader who holds ladders for others. Will you make me like that, God? Because I think that actually is his heart toward us too. We follow a God who is a Jesus who's a ladder holding God. So I love that image.
I think one of the things that really does propel me is this heart for the lost, and recognizing that there is so much work to be done in the world that it will take all of us to accomplish the Great Commission. And it will take more than me. And to be real honest, I am not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. And so when we're so sold out on that Christ's plan for the world is that they are reached with the gospel, then we get sold out on being team Jesus, not team opportunity. Does that make sense?
Girl. Yes.
And that doesn't always make a profitable career. But I also am seeing very much that when you are really focused on what Christ wants, rather than stuff always getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, that sometimes that means smaller and smaller and smaller because it's more powerful. It's more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a laser versus what you're doing with a spotlight. Does that make sense? And so if his goal for me is to be overseas now versus in front of America, I need to say, yes, Lord, because he's accomplishing something I can't see. So I think when we focus on all of us, then what we want is to get everybody in their sweet spot for the team, If you are the goalkeeper and I'm midfield and Katie's offense, so be it. Let's just win, right?
Yeah. And that's so much more fun anyway, isn't it? To play on a full and complete team where we're all effective and cheering one another on in a way that we can't all be goalkeepers. We don't want to be, right? It's not an effective strategy. And I'm hearing so much too of what you've shared, Lee, coming back to this place of knowing who we are, like knowing who God has made us to be, where our identity comes from. It's never from the platform we build. It's never from the opportunities that we get. It's never from the successes or the failures that we experience, which there will be both. And if our identity is wrapped up in those things, then we are in a dangerous place where our core sense of self is wrapped around other people and not around who Jesus says we are and who he's made us to be. And so I'm hearing you say, yeah, as I become more and more centered in my God-given identity, I become more and more free to be myself in the world and to invite other people to be themselves in the world too.
So I would say that I have had my identity pried out of my hands numerous times. And I am telling you that I would rather hand that to him than have him pry it out of my hands. So maybe I'm learning this lesson a little quicker now that I'm closing in on 50. I don't know, but this is a devastating lesson to be learned every few years. And he is faithful to do that tuning work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
I think sometimes too, Jillian, we are maybe praying for things that are not actually our deep heart's desire. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if someone's praying, let's say, for all these opportunities to be, in whatever it is, think of listeners, what is that thing that you're just praying for? Like maybe if you get that thing, then it will negatively impact the thing that's actually most precious to you. And so sometimes I think when we're having those jealousy things, God's like, do you actually want this? Like a silly example is I wanted a 2-book deal. I thought that sounded so fancy. And like, maybe I've arrived if I have a 2-book deal. And let me tell you, writing a Bible study and a fiction book that were due on the same day was not glamorous. We barely survived it. And I think it was one of those things in God's kindness was just like, okay, you just keep saying it like a clanging gong. Here you go. And you'll never ask me for it again. But sometimes I think we're so set on, God, if you're good, say yes to this. And a dear friend of mine, Bethany Norris, she said this once, and I cannot stop thinking about it. But she said, God is good, and he gets to define what good means. Because we define it, right? We define what good means. Yeah. But his definition of that is so much different. And I'm sure all of us and listeners, you as well, we could think of examples of things we never asked for, never wanted, but how those things drew us so close to the Lord and into such a sweet time with him that we would have never experienced had we just gotten what we asked for, when we wanted it.
That's so good. Yeah. And I am even just aware of that prayer that I have prayed as I have slowly walked this writing journey where platform building is such an important part of it. If we're going to get a book deal, you have to have a platform. And like you said, Lee, it's just that can be something that if we're not careful can get really distorted in terms of the work that we're doing and where our identity comes from. And I remember being at a writing retreat and this prayer just erupted from me of God, protect me from fame. Protect me from fame. I actually don't want to be famous. I don't want a platform if that's going to distort what's happening in my heart. I don't want to lose my soul and gain the whole world. Protect me from that. Or if you want me to have a platform, protect me in that, right? Just protect me. And so what you're saying, Katie, is, we don't want to lose the things that are most precious to us for the thing we think we want. When what we actually want, God knows. He knows. We can trust him with the deepest desires of our heart. So God, will you just reorient our desires to be in alignment with what you long for us? Oh, there's so much goodness here. Friends, thank you for sharing your friendship. And I know both of you have individual projects and books that people can get and follow you and support you, but also learn from you. Katie, you have a Bible study that just released this year called God, What Do I Do? Talk about what that Bible study is in a nutshell.
Yeah, so it's on Judges 1-5, and it is 6 decisions you can make even when you don't specifically know what to do. God, Lee and I always talk about this, God baptizes you in your message. And so I wrote this. I'm a pretty decisive person. So I wrote this to help other people navigate uncertainty. And wouldn't you know, then God asked our family to do all these uncertain things. And my friends kept messaging me hey, are you going through your own Bible study? It's why, yes, I am. And I am learning things, Yeah. And so I just think that's something we often ask, God, what do you want me to do? But really the heart behind the message is to move from the sidelines in your faith to the front lines. It's really about surrender. And are you going to let God call the shots? Or are you kind of just doing your own thing and asking him to bless it? Or are you a Christ follower? And as Lee masterfully did in this conversation, she always points me back to Jesus and the gospel. I remember getting ready to speak at an event, the one I had prayed for years. And she came in and she goes, "Are you giving them the gospel?" And like, I felt so embarrassed that I didn't quite have that in there clearly. And so I spent the next afternoon pouring that in, but she time and time again will take me back to what's most important. And even as we're having this conversation, yes, our hearts are important. God's presence, his glory, that is what this life is about. And I've been reminded so much lately of the shortness of time. Having kids that are launching the world events. And so if I like to do lots of projects as fiction and nonfiction, but I have had such clarity lately. It's like, if I die tomorrow, I want to lead people with God's word. I want to lead them to the word. And so writing this Bible study hopefully will help that, to help people really know what it says, but also that this is a absolute authority, and it will a gentle guide in how we are to live our life. Like, it's a love letter. And for so long, I read it like as these harsh words from a tyrant God, but it's really his grace and his kindness to us. And so God, what do I do is all about, how do we make decisions, but really, how do we connect with the Lord in times of uncertainty?
Yeah. What a timely gift to readers and people who want to know God's heart for them. And what a perfect, as this airs in December, I'm thinking about what a perfect either Christmas gift or a way to start the new year, right? For people to really jump into how to make wise decisions in their lives. I want to make sure to highlight two books. Well, one in particular that's relevant to the season. A Bavarian Christmas is one of Katie's books. And it takes place, isn't it set in Leavenworth, Washington? Am I remembering correctly?
Well, Frankenmuth, Michigan is part of it. The sequel is in Leavenworth, but yes.
Okay. Yeah. So connected to the area where I live, which I love so much. And you said also there's a freebie that you have for listeners from the Bible study from God, What Do I Do? What's that freebie?
Yeah, so it's the introductory lesson of the study, and it's the decision to remember. And I think as we move forward into the holidays, move forward into the new year, it's so important to remember God's faithfulness. So this will give you a taste of the study and help you to just walk with him during the season.
I love that. Thanks, Katie. And I'll be sure to put a link for that in the show notes too. And Lee, I know that you have so many offerings. My daughter just read Comparison Girl for Teens that I got at the conference that you gave me. Thank you. And you have books on parenting and reading the names here, Brave Moms, Brave Kids, and then Countercultural Parenting. Where can people find resources that you have to offer?
Yeah, if you go to bravemomsbravekids.com, that gets you right onto that page, or counterculturalparenting.com gets you there too. So those are there. But for the most part right now, God has me on a missionary journey, which has been a very interesting and humbling experience of supporting other national led ministries. And so that's kind of where my heart is right now, although I'm excited to start new writing projects and to keep moving forward in that way. But right now, I am getting ready to head to Romania to do a couple of women's conferences in the next couple of weeks. And so really, that's where my heart is. So you can kind of find out more on the website or on social media, on Instagram, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so good. And I'll also make sure to include a link to the Martha and Mary Show, where you have hundreds of archived episodes of this amazing podcast that you hosted together.
And some of our favorite episodes are at the beginning, where we did not know what we were doing, but we were talking about some things that we were figuring out in our own lives. And I always think people always talk to me about certain episodes, and even party planning and Christmas. So Katie and I covered it all at the beginning of the show. And so that's hilarious. But
so good. So good. Before we wrap up, are you each willing to give a permission slip to listeners?
Yeah. So we have just moved across the country, and I am recognizing I do not like being an amateur. I already knew this about myself, but I do not like starting things I'm not good at. And I really wanted to be on the worship team at our new church. I love doing that. And I remember driving and God said, Katie, you want to do worship for me? I want you to do students, or you want to do worship for you. I want you to do students for me. And so here I am helping out with 6th grade. And the first night I felt like a fish out of water. Like I have so much experience. I mean, my application was embarrassing, like how much experience I have. I should be great at this. And, new church culture, new place, 400 kids running around. I felt like a dud. And so I'm giving myself permission to be an amateur and to remember that things take time. I want to be settled. I want things to be great from the get-go, and like good things take time. And so I'm giving myself permission. I guess I love what you said in your intro, Jillian, to be human. I am not good at giving myself a permission to be human. For some reason, I think I should, not make mistakes and, all that stuff, which is why Jesus came, right? Yeah. The other day, I felt like, you remind me, Katie, you don't have to be flawless. In fact, Lee and I did one about this. He's faithful. And we don't have to be flawless. We can lean into his faithfulness because he came because we were not perfect.
So good. Thanks, Katie. Lee, what about you? What would your permission slip be?
I think today, in light of this coming near Christmas, it's permission for your plate to not be balanced. There are just seasons where we want to have balance between our life and our ministry and work and all of those things. And especially during the holiday season, it doesn't work like that. There's like a double helping in women's minds about getting gifts in the right places and people in the right order and having the right clothes and the right hair and the most meaningful gifts. And it's not balanced and all of it's not Hallmark. Sorry, Katie, it's not. It's just not balanced. And so I think it's okay for us to go, okay, this is the month where it's not going to work the way it's going to work for the rest of the year. And that's okay.
Yeah. That's good. That's a realistic expectation for ourselves. Yeah. Ladies, thank you so much for being here and for the gift of your wisdom and your friendship and everything that you've shared with us. I'm really grateful.
Thanks for having us, friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. As we prepare for a new year, I hope you'll grab yourself a copy of Katie's Bible study, God, What Do I Do? And make space to discern for yourself. What are the wise decisions that God's inviting you to make in the year to come? You might also be looking for someone to help you one-on-one, a coach who can sit with you and help you pay attention to your own life, to the decisions that you need to make or the places you're feeling stuck, helping you sort through the priorities that you want to invest in the year to come. If so, I offer one-on-one life and leadership coaching. And if that's something you're interested in, there's more information in the show notes, and I'd love to schedule a call with you. May this be the year that you live more freely, wholeheartedly, and courageously as you walk out the purpose that God has for your life. Thanks for listening to this episode of Permission Slips. I hope this conversation gave you permission to consider who in your life you might be able to hold the ladder for, who you might be able to invite with you as a cheerleader so that you could also cheerlead them. Remember, your life matters. And so do your friendships, more than you know.